And welcome back to Coast with Stuart Swerdlow. Stuart, let's talk about this staged alien invasion. This fascinates me. So tell me how it could occur and what the motive is behind it.
You know, for the last century, in order to create control over people, the best way is to instill fear. And so we've seen this with World War II, the fear of the Nazis, then the Cold War. And now we have the terrorist fear. Everyone's afraid and trying to unite against that.
Some of the fear could be real, but maybe magnified.
Yes, but of course the terrorists are a creation of the New World Order and would not exist on their own.
Very possible.
Yeah. There's no way that they could have possible, well, it's a long story, but so the next thing is to create a fear beyond this planet that would force the planet to unite under one world government. In other words, create the situation so the solution can be imposed. If we are told that we are being attacked by an unknown alien civilization with amazing weapons, imagine the fear and terror that would pervade the Earth.
Everybody would band together.
Correct, and demand that the countries of the Earth do something together to stop this threat.
Yes.
And of course, then we would have a New World Order government, a singular government that controls the planet, which we already have anyway, but now would be officially wanted by the people. That would be public. And then we would have this imaginary battle. They have something called Blue Beam Project. And Blue Beam Project is holographic images that are projected into the atmosphere and can look like anything. It can look like a religious figure. It can look like a UFO fleet. It could look like missiles. They've been targeting and practicing with this since the early 1960s when they actually tested it over Havana Harbor, when a U.S. submarine projected the image of the Virgin Mary over Havana and was seen by all the people in the evening streets.
And you can shut it off anytime you want. It
Correct.
Just disappears, right?
Absolutely. They've been testing it recently in various places of the Earth, all these meteor falls. For example, Sydney Airport a few months ago reported a meteor on their radar, and then people saw this meteor come and actually hit the ground and explode. And when the emergency services went to the area, there was absolutely nothing there because it was a holographic image that they were testing. And we've seen this in various places around the world. That's Blue Beam Project. And so when they project alien fleets in the sky and they project laser beams or whatever they're going to use to scare people with, that is what people are going to see and fear. But it gets a little thicker than that because...
All right. It's strange stuff, Stuart.
Well, this has been planned for years, decades, and we're finally coming to the culmination of this. They're also going to stage a second coming of Christ, and that second coming is going to proclaim the New World Order as his new holy empire. And they're going to install a New World religion as well, which is already in process also. So this planet is going to be very different than what we've known it to be in the past.
As crazy as this sounds, some of it, I'm not so sure I can accept the second coming, but as crazy as this sounds, some of it sounds very possible.
Well, all you got to do is look at the newspaper, watch CNN, and you can see all of it happening. And it's right there in front of us.
What minds developed this?
Well, this is not new. This has been going on since day zero on this planet for the ultimate domination and control of the planet. But I feel that it cannot ultimately be successful because, as I mentioned before the last break, we have that 97% of DNA that scientists call junk DNA. And the thing is that 97% is common through all species, no matter what the species. To me, that's proof of God or God mind, that there's a common 97% DNA through all species. And only 3% of DNA differentiates species and individuals within that species. So to me, that's very mind-boggling and proof of a higher intelligence. If we can tap in and open up that unused DNA, we would have abilities that would enable us to remove victimization mind pattern that enables these things to occur.
Explain that a little bit more. How?
Well, human beings have a victimization mind pattern that attracts tyrants and oppressors. And we project out from our minds into physical reality what our thoughts are, and the universe reflects that for us. Think of the analogy as thoughts being film, the brain being the projector, and physical reality as the screen. So if we don't like the movie of our life that's playing, we need to change the film, which is the way we think. If we think in victimization terms and vulnerability terms, we will create that kind of a world. If we take our mind back and control ourselves, then this cannot happen. We cannot be controlled by others.
Why do they need the alien invasion to implement this? Why don't they just continue to push the terrorism agenda, for example? I mean, that will create fear no matter what, especially if they magnify it.
Initially, but that can last for just so long, just like the Cold War could only last for just so long.
And then people will say enough is enough.
Right. But an alien threat, well, that's out there in the universe, which is vast. That's forever.
And it's also them against us.
Correct.
Basically.
Correct. And so that's the ultimate fear user, where everybody wants to band together to fight against this.
Stuart, you do know, if this is possible, how warped their minds must be.
Well, again, that's why I explained the reptilian mindset. They think differently than human beings. We think in a different way than they do. They have in their minds all the time in the world because their genetics don't change. Their culture stays the same through mind control and programming, so there's no deviation. They're very sure of what they're doing. To them, in their minds, what they do is holy to them.
How long do they live, each, as a physical being? How long?
Well, we know the Queen Mother admitted to being 100-something years old, and she was a lot older than that. They can live several hundred years in the same body.
The Queen Mother is a reptilian?
Oh, she was, yes. Did you see the size of her coffin? It was not the size of her human body.
I did not see the size of her coffin. Is there a picture I can find on the internet?
Well, there might be. I don't know. But it was quite much larger than what should have been for that little lady's body.
How big was it?
It was pretty large. It was, to me, like a little piano case.
Oh, like 8 feet, 9 feet?
It was big. I don't know how. I mean, you can only see from the pictures, but it was very large.
You're saying when she died, the Queen Mother reverted to the reptilian stage.
Yes.
And then became this large reptilian, and that's what they buried her in.
Yes, that is correct.
Sounds like David Icke's been getting to you on this one, Stuart.
Well, the truth is still the truth. I've had reporters tell me that they know about this but cannot ever report on it.
You mean British reporters?
Actually, an American reporter said this to me, as well as a British reporter.
That the royal family, are they pure reptilians or hybrids?
They're shapeshifters, obviously. They go into human form. And isn't it interesting that Prince Harry this week said that he could never be normal? Now, of course, you could take that several ways, but I take it in a way that he knows he's also a reptilian shapeshifter.
Well, I was going to say, do these members know who they are or what they are?
Of course. When you're a shapeshifter, you know that. You know what you are. And
all right, but how come you said, like yourself, that you have reptilian blood? I do. Mm-hmm. That's what you said. How come you can't shapeshift?
Because I don't have a 50-50 split in genetics.
Ah, but they do.
They do.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. You can't. You need to have a majority, at least, of the genetics in order to manifest the characteristics of the species.
Most people in power on this planet are 50-50?
No, I would not say most. I would say that there is quite a few, but I would say most are not shapeshifters, but there are many shapeshifters. And they're not just in control positions. There are many in all walks of life because they need to control every layer of mankind.